Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The campaign is Spawn of Azathoth. It was written by Doc Herber, and our guest master is John Hook. This is episode 26. Our recap will be given by Josh Harwood as his character, Dr. Arlo Augustine. I would also like to mention that we have a new patron. Michael Smola has pledged $3 a month to our channel. Thank you very much, Michael. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Josh?
Thanks, Tom. To my beautiful wife, Ariana, oh, God. Me and the group, we're on a train. We got on a train. There were some people in robes that turned out to be nothing. We met up with Wilson and and he set us off. He put us on this journey. We're in Tibet now. We're going into the Himalayas. We're going possibly to a place where I may not return. I don't think I will return. The rest may return, but I do not think. I think this is the end of me, Ariana. So, with this letter, I have also put my will and everything necessary to do with that. And make sure Dr. Green knows he can go ahead with 1.0 with Zeb. You can go on ahead with that. Yes. God. Arlo isn't home anymore. I am Arlo. We are Arlo. Ariana, Arlo does not exist. He is a we now. We are one, and we will finish our goal. We will treat these mortal beings as our friends for now, but if they get in the way, I will get rid of them, as I have plans to get rid of Zeb as well. That Green, easily manipulated. Zeb will soon be dead. Maybe the rest will. Who knows? But I just have to get to the bottom of this. I cannot be dealing, or we cannot be dealing with this goddamn thing. And Arlo is the sacrifice. Soon we'll be out in the open.
Josh, thank you for that recap. Awesome. So when we last left, you guys have made it to Lhasa, Tibet. You caught up with Francis Wilson, right? Mr. Wilson, Professor Wilson. And he's informed you about the research that he's been doing that Philip Baxter tasked him with, which took him into Russia, and he discovered that some of the diaries from Rasputin, and you looked over that one very pertinent page that talked about the albino savage that is an agent, believed to be an agent of Ibon, and is going to do whatever he or it can to ensure that Nemesis strikes and the world is remade in a new image, much like it was 65 million years ago. So Wilson, who has a false leg now due to injuries that he has sustained, cannot make the journey himself. He is relying upon you to make it. And so he has gotten his best man, a local by the name of La Zhang. And La Zhang is going to basically be the lead of the Sherpas and porters who are going to travel with you north. And according to Wilson's research, there is some kind of temple or monastery far, far, far to the north in an area known as Lang, and that it is going to be a very long and treacherous, dangerous journey. I don't remember what I said before, but this is going to be like almost a 2-week journey. And, before coming from India to Tibet, even though it was through the Himalayas, at least that was a semblance of a road. And that was a pilgrim road that was supported with yurts, way stations for people to successfully traverse that road, if you will, that goat path used as a pilgrimage road. There will be no such luxuries on this journey north into the wilds of Tibet. So this will be a very difficult and physically grueling journey. But you have the yaks, you have the Sherpas and porters, and you have La Zhang to be your guide.
I know that Wilson made a point of making sure that we had arms that we were comfortable with. Is the staff also armed?
They are. They all have rifles. They all have standard issue rifles.
It's something. Any special farewell as we head out?
Well, before we head out and have that special farewell, I'm going to rectify an oversight from before. It comes to my attention, and I blame myself, but there were a couple of artifacts that were picked up in Montana. A couple of small stone-like, at least their appearance is that of a chunk of granite, but a small stone-like devices that, while they look firm and have good weight to them, they're actually slightly pliable. You're able to squeeze this rock, and it's these weapons that the Migo were using. And I believe at least one of you was going to be practicing with that weapon in the cover of darkness during the original sea voyage when you were coming to Calcutta prior to traveling further south to the Andaman Islands. Edith, yes. You have a weapon that you want to be practicing with, I believe.
I do.
All right. So as the setup is, yes, you are on the boat. Well, it's a little bit of a flashback. You're on that boat crossing over, and yeah, you're on the deck of the ship with one of these rocks.
Okay. Yeah. I'll spend some time studying it, looking it over, seeing if I can kind of make sense of it. I've roped Dr. Baxter or Mr. Cuthbert in to help me, maybe, provide some target practice if I decide to actually try shooting at it. So something akin to like skeet shooting, I suppose.
Sure.
But I do want to take some time to study it first, lest I hurt myself or somebody else.
That is probably wise.
Yes.
So why don't you give me, here we go. Why don't you roll percentile, and I'm just roll once, but I would like you to tell me how that roll compares first to your intelligence and second to your POW. How does that single roll compare to each of those?
Okay. Oh, that's an 06. I think that's an extreme for both.
Well,
Yes.
Well, you are successful in not blowing your face off.
Excellent.
So bonus for that. Right on. Fantastic. So, and that was an extreme success for each of those?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. So you're up on this deck, and you can tell after fairly careful inspection of this rock that your mind kind of starts thinking about the Migo and their claws, and their appendages. And so you almost kind of split your hand, kind of in a V formation, and it feels, kind of natural to kind of grip it, like that. Your thumb is almost useless. It just kind of is, holding onto it, but you're able to, through pressure of the split fingers, you're able to figure out how this is fired. You even take a couple of test shots out, safely out into the ocean, into the air, and maybe also shooting down at the water. And nobody's injured. But you do come away with an extreme success. You do come away with some extra information after doing a couple of these test fires. So you have noted that this rock, ever so slightly, almost imperceptible for humans, but I don't know, you're paying really close attention. The weight is greater. It's gotten heavier. The rock is also slightly warmer, and it's becoming a little more difficult to squeeze it. You seem to have ascertained that the more often you fire it, the more difficult it becomes to fire, and you eventually believe that it will eventually become too heavy and too firm for a human hand to squeeze it and fire it. You guesstimate that you probably have somewhere between 5 and 10 more uses out of this before it just simply becomes a lodestone.
Excellent.
And definitely that divot at that one end, you want to have that divot pointed away from you.
Yes.
You figured that part out for sure.
And
that's the dangerous end.
I think we all had a bit of an interest in it. So anyone in this trip that would have, wanted to know this information, I think Dr. Saladin may have the second gun, just kind of give them the rundown of what it looks like, how we use it. Even Dr. Augustine, because at this point, we don't know anything different of Arlo. So everyone would know the intricacies of the gun if they wish to know it.
Did I have it, or did I give it to Baxter? Somebody more scientific when I did.
We did a little bit of study of it when we were back in Providence, but I don't think.
Yeah, Edith has figured out which end shoots. That's what we weren't sure of.
Yeah, I remember saying that I was weary of testing it out because I didn't want to have us kill ourselves by
Yes.
squeezing it in.
Well, and an oversea voyage is a good place because even if you cut a fairly deep channel in the sea, you're probably not going to cause a lot of meaningful harm. It's big and mostly empty.
I don't think I have one. One of them has the other one.
Sure. Well,
And
anyone who would want to know about it, I would.
Happy to have smuggled it in, and I was successful in my smuggling of actual firearms. So
Yeah. So for having an extreme success in your testing of it, roll 2d6 for me, please, Edith.
7.
Okay. The base percent chance for Migo lightning gun is going to be 25. But with your extreme success, you can add 7% to that.
Okay.
So you'll have a 32% in Migo lightning gun. Was there anyone else who wanted to take advantage of the sea voyage to practice along with Edith on the usage of this weapon and maybe kind of even have some tutelage under Edith?
I guess we should all at least try it out. Doesn't that make sense? Unless
we have such limited shots of it, though.
Yeah.
At least study it, and I could, no. That's the end. You point out, don't point it at yourself.
Maybe we can make some marks on it of some sort so
Yeah.
that we know where to put our hands. Yeah. So, we won't waste any of it.
if a grease pencil will mark it, I think a little arrow and maybe some lozenge shapes where the human grip goes, but mostly where the hole through space comes out, we should all be conscious of.
Okay. Yeah, interesting enough, you do mark it with a grease pencil, and overnight when you awaken, it's evaporated or been absorbed, but the markings are gone.
I wonder if you could put it on something or next to something or in something and it would absorb energy. Maybe that's how it gets. I don't know.
But given that prospect, we probably don't want to carry it very close to our own flesh, since it might be deriving energy from sources that we're not familiar with.
It's Arlo.
So I'm going to assume that Edith for sure is carrying one of the lightning guns. Does anyone else wish to carry and maybe have previously practiced just to see if they could improve their ability with a lightning gun?
I'm foolhardy.
All right.
That's these black potatoes.
Excellent. Roll a percentile and compare it to both your intelligence and power.
Well, no, the black potatoes are like energy disintegration beams, aren't they?
That's the Migo weapons we got.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't appear to look like electric bolts in this case, but bores through material.
Yeah.
I have a hard success with a 21 on both intelligence and power.
Okay. Roll a d6.
Sorry. Yeah, hard. Yeah.
For both? It's a hard for both?
6.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a hard for both.
Okay. So you can add 6 to 25 and have a 31% in Migo lightning gun.
Do we know the damage value on these, or is that unknown to us at this time?
We know it didn't do concrete any good.
Right. It did a lot of damage, and so we'll see.
Nebulous.
We'll see when you use it. Yeah.
Kind of melted a hole right through the concrete.
Yep.
It's a good thing, Edith, that you noticed this apparent change in charge over time. Otherwise, I would just want to burrow a tunnel through the Himalaya until we could see Lang in the distance. But apparently,
didn't punch a hole
physics.
in the ship.
Well, yes. I think that's why the study was not done in Providence. We didn't want to punch a giant hole in the Biltmore in 17 residents.
Arlo's chewing on his tentacles again.
Boy, I'm glad we didn't let him use one of the guns.
Okay. So I think that will catch us up on the flashback. And so now we come to the present. You guys are in Lhasa, and you are preparing to make your journey. Wilson is there. He's all bundled up in a parka, and the winds, the weather is awful. The skies are heavily clouded, and it looks like you're in for probably a blizzard coming soon. So he's bundled up, kind of bracing himself against the wind, and says, "This will not be an easy journey. Please travel safely and keep to the north. Stay north."
Thankfully, we have our guide with us. Zach.
Good journey.
If we don't make it, you'll know, because the world will end, apparently. So
I will continue to watch the skies. Anybody have anything they want to say before they go? Anything you want to do?
Are we going to be digging trenches to sleep in as we travel with tarps over them rather than try to put tents up on unreliable terrain?
The Sherpas will have whatever skills that they know about surviving in the wilds of the deep cold. So that's why they're here, to keep you alive. That's their sole job.
All right, let's go.
All right, you guys head off, and it is really grueling. It's very difficult. You're not on a beaten path of any sort. Your feet are sticking to the half frozen ground, and it's almost like with every step, your relatively warm boots will slightly thaw and then freeze to the tundra below you as you guys just keep trudging on and on and on. Everyone give me a con roll, please.
We're going to have to keep an extra eye out for Cuthbert, given what he's suffered.
I got an 02.
29 is a regular success.
I got an 01. We're burning up luck.
Wow.
I'll spend the single point of luck to make it a success.
I got an 03.
Oh my God.
Of
We had
course you did.
01, 02, 03. Okay.
59 out of 60. So
Oh, well, that's
Skirting right
still
by.
a success. Fantastic. So through the first 2 days, you guys are just hunkering in, sticking to it, and trudging on. Does anyone have anything that they want to do, or what is the attitude that you have throughout this journey? Is there anything that you do to try and beat the monotony, or do you just hunker down and keep going?
Well, I imagine that it's quite beautiful. At least the first couple of days, we think it's beautiful. But
there is a mountain range ahead of you. You're walking right towards it.
We just all I could probably think of is when is lunch and then when is dinner and when are we going to stop for the day? And then it just becomes monotonous, almost hypnotic, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, yeah. It's a lot like that. Very hypnotic. So you guys are trudging along, and you're on your third day of travel, and Lhasa, who's at the head of this caravan, he's called for a halt. And as you guys all kind of start moving up, the terrain is it's not flat. I mean, there are rolling hills, and as you're getting closer to the mountains that are ahead, the hills, undulate, even more abruptly and more dramatically. So as you're coming up to the crest of this one hill, Lhasa has stopped, and you guys can go up to there and see what is the matter.
Yeah.
As you get up there, he's pointing down into the valley ahead, and you can see a very large herd of wild yak moving through, grazing and pushing through. And Lhasa says, we should divert and go around. It is if we were to spook the herd, that could be a stampede. That could be very dangerous. But some of you have already been going a couple of days, and the rations are meager. The thought of fresh meat is crossing your mind.
Yes.
He looks to you and says, as a group, he looks to you and says, what do you do? What is your choice?
If only we had a bow, an arrow. I don't know if you could take a yak on a bow and arrow, but
rifles.
But the loud noise. I mean,
is there concern of an avalanche, or are you just concerned about spooking the herd, Dr. Long?
The herd. I mean, all these yaks coming at us or in every which direction, you could get trampled and killed.
Well, but aren't the yaks in a channel beneath us?
They are.
If we just are patient, we can pick off perhaps a couple at the tail end.
Straggler, yeah. One that's young. Is up with tender.
Full of life and hope. The hope makes it taste better.
The hope.
Awesome. So you guys want to wait here, and as the herd is beginning to pass, try and shoot someone and take out one near the end of the herd?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We might want a bigger one that's not too young, because we want to have plenty of meat.
Well, I think
they're not going to have the young in the rear. They're going to have the young in the middle.
Yeah, you should take a middle-aged one.
Just get a good, healthy one. Don't get the slowest one. They're probably diseased. But one yak, if a yak's the size of a cow, one cow is enough to feed a family of 12 for a month.
Well, Mr. Cuthbert, you were in the war. Surely you're a decent shot with a gun. Dr. Augustine too, yes?
Yes, I am more. I'm better with rifles than anything else. So,
I think this is the perfect chance for you to use that skill then.
Yes. Yes, I will. I'll be patient. I have my rifle.
All right. So, Augustine, you're going to try and take a shot at a yak.
Yeah. Yep. As he takes his gun, I'm getting ready to dive behind a rock when he turns on us all and kills us, tries to kill us. Just have a feeling.
Wait, we gave Arlo a gun?
It's my gun.
Yeah, he had his
just gave
own
him
gun.
It's my own personal gun.
With tentacles. Look, there's a tentacle now in front of Doctor.
All the
All
time.
right. So the distance is it's pretty long. So why don't you give me a rifle roll, and you need a hard success.
Let me just see if I can burn the look to get it too hard.
Could you use a tentacle to steady the rifle? You
Well,
could make a bipod out of tentacles.
I'd need to spend 26 luck.
Does the promise of fresh blood that tantalizing?
It is. It is. So I will. I have 60 luck still. So I will spend for that luck to get it to a hard.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well done. You hit it. Why don't you roll some damage for me?
Okay. How do I still not have? Where's the Lee Enfield damage? I still don't know.
It is 2d6 plus 4.
5, 8. So 12.
12 points of damage.
Yeah.
Wow. Check something real quick.
Not exploding rounds. It doesn't do us any good. Bison. I wonder how a yak compares to a cow. It's bigger or smaller. You think it's smaller?
A yak? I think it's bigger.
No, they're hairier. They've got
Yeah.
fur.
Okay. So you know you hit it. And the noise echoes through the valley, and the entire herd just kicks into high gear, to include the one that you shot, and begins hauling ass further down through the valley, heading away from you.
Okay.
The one you shot is doesn't seem to be slowing down right now.
Well, we follow, and then
track it.
eventually it will succumb.
I mean,
Yes, it should bleed out.
how high is the valley? We should be able to get another shot or two before they're out of sight, right?
Yeah, you can get another shot. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me see. I've also got a Lee Enfield.
Hard success.
That's too much to spend. I can't feel my fingers. That probably makes it harder.
Okay.
So I chow into nothingness.
No, wait.
Or possibly into another
Anybody
animal.
else?
No, I reckon we don't need. It should. In theory, it should just bleed out. We can follow it.
Got a good shot on it, so it's probably not too long.
It can take sometimes a minute, many minutes.
Yeah.
It decides to give up.
Get a
Plus, it'll
mile.
get slower and slower as it goes. So eventually, you could shoot it again.
And we could track
Yeah.
it with the blood.
There's
Yeah,
blood.
Yeah, no way to
so-
miss it. It's a question for Lhasa whether it seems like it'll take us farther out of our way than the fresh meat is worth.
The animals are running on. and there's still one last chance to shoot it, but now due to the distance, it's going to be an extreme success. Lhasa is speaking very rapidly, and then he tries to slow down, control his breath, and speak in English, and he goes, "It will run away. If you want it, you must shoot now."
Take another shot. I'll take a shot at it. Or go ahead. You have a better skill than I do, so go ahead. If you're gonna take a shot.
Okay, you're the guide for this. I've never shot a yak before, until just a few minutes ago, so I will. Okay, I don't need a hard, I need an extreme. But I've already spent so much. What's spending 7 more luck, right? What's spending 7?
Not even double digits.
It's way too far for a handgun.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, there we go. I spent the luck.
All right, roll your damage.
Okay, that was a 5 and then a 6. So then that's 15 if it's a +4.
Very nice. All right. So yeah, the crack of the rifle echoes through the valley, and sure enough, the animal that you were aiming at, the one that you shot already once, because you are that good of a marksman, the front legs crumple underneath it as it was running full speed, and so it falls head first into the dirt, and then the whole rear end of the body flips over the top, and it falls to the ground with a huge thump as the rest of the herd just keeps running on, and that animal is laying in the ground.
All right, we should start heading towards it.
Nice work, Augustine. Thanks.
Good shot.
Why don't you take a load off, and we'll go and collect the beast.
Yes.
Well, and the Sherpas they should all know how to slaughter.
Oh yeah. In fact, they're all running out there, knives drawn, and they've got a bunch of special packs for holding meat, and so they're going out there in order to field dress it right where it lies.
Just like the old days.
In terms of things to occupy the mind while time passes and the cold and deprivation, I've been trying to get Lhasa to teach me a few basic words in the group's Tibetan tongue.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Give me a psychology.
Something I'm actually competent at. Oh, 18. Very nice. That's hard but not extreme.
Okay. And now give me an education roll, please.
Unhindered by my massive power loss recently. Primarily. I can't. It's ridiculous to fail on 80. I'm going to spend 6 luck points.
Okay.
So, what's that, Cuthbert? I hear in the wind.
Push it.
Cuthbert, look after that. You're an older man now.
Thank you.
What if I make meticulous notes as I'm having these conversations? Could I focus my mind and try harder?
Well, so you had a successful education roll, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I had a successful intelligence roll, and I failed my education roll despite and I wanted to push it.
So I didn't want an intelligence. I just wanted you to do psychology first.
Oh, psychology. Yes, psychology went well.
And then
education surprisingly did not, and I was going to try to push psychology. Education.
This is not something I think that is pushable.
That's
so
fine.
you can either spend the luck or no.
I'll spend it then.
Okay.
Cuthbert's voice in my head was probably just the wind and mountains.
Oh, I see. Oh, yes. So Lazang he's not been completely available to teach you any Tibetan. He seems to be like trying to spend his time like leading the group, but there are times where you come up and say, hey, I'd really like to learn some more Tibetan, right? And so your successful psychology, you can tell that he seems a little distracted, preoccupied, maybe frustrated, and you've noticed that the words that he is teaching you, he's not like teaching you phrases. He's like, house, yak, door, cup, bowl. You're just getting like just these individual little word
Basic
snippets.
vocabulary words and not things that are useful, like turn south or stop.
Correct. Or help, or you're not getting anything like that. He'll see, like he'll be walking and go, this is the word for rock. Here's rock. Here's bush. Here's shoe. And he's just almost like he sees something and is telling you the word for the thing that he sees. But he's definitely not giving you phraseology or anything that seems even remotely usable, because it even occurs to you that, well, okay, that's a thing, but you don't know about any kind of conjugations, and is it different if you're meaning it one way versus another, and you don't even know sentence structure in Tibetan. I mean, you get the sense that he's with your successful psychology, you get the sense that he's placating you, but definitely not trying to teach you anything. But you do pick up a little bit of something since you have your successful education roll. So you can add other language Tibetan, and you are at 2%.
Fair enough. I can tell whether they're speaking Tibetan sometimes.
Yes, but you're not getting any of the phraseology, so you can't tell what they're saying.
Not everybody is a teacher. So, could you teach a Tibetan English? You'd probably go rock, camel. What's that doing here? Alien beastie.
Same thing that the llamas are doing here.
Yeah. And the piranhas. Tibetan piranhas.
Did you happen by chance to learn how to say "quick"? That man has tentacles sprouting from his back in Tibetan, by chance?
Maybe not.
I think I might know how to say finger, so I could point at him and say, finger, finger, finger.
Does anyone else have anything that they want to do? So the Sherpas, due to the time that it's going to take to field dress that yak, you'll end out camping earlier than you have been for the last couple of days, as you hunker down and set up camp to spend the night, and that way that gives the Sherpas plenty of time to dress that yak.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to rest.
Okay.
Cuthbert. Walk over to Cuthbert. Cuthbert. Give me a sense of the good old days.
That was a pretty good shot. Still have it, Arlo.
I do. I felt just for a second I was normal again.
It does seem like you're struggling there. I really hope you can hold on. This is, I don't understand what's going on.
I wish I could tell you. I feel like my humanity is draining away, Cuthbert.
Oh, don't say that. You can hold on. Do you feel at all like you have any chance of? Can you communicate with this, whatever it is with you?
Yes, I have ways. I have been able to tell it what to do. The tentacles have issued on my commands. They have gone. I've thought about them going towards something, they go towards something. But I don't know. I don't know how long it will stay this middle ground of peace. As you can see, my skin is tearing away, Cuthbert.
Good God. Are you still want me to go ahead with what you told me to do?
Of course. The moment I stop being able to feel like I'm a human being, or when I've completely shed the skin, I have not a clue what I will unleash. So, yes, the plan is still set in motion. And then you'll be able to go home, hopefully all of us, and you'll be reunited with Zeb, Cuthbert.
The camping arrangements, everyone, in addition to the porters kind of like clearing some of the snow away to try and get to hard packed earth, the tents are these really small tents, and they're designed for 2 or 3 people to crawl in together and have shared bodily warmth in this enclosed, little space, right? And so it keeps everyone warm, and you stay dry from the elements because the whole tent can completely close up. So is it safe to assume that Dr. Augustine and Cuthbert share a tent?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll keep him warm with all my tentacles wrapped around him.
Does anyone else share that tent with him?
Oh no.
2 of them? No.
Maybe Arlo might want to have a tent to himself just so he can.
No, Cuthbert, you're staying with me.
Yeah, anybody who sleeps by themselves, that's almost a death sentence. You're almost guaranteed to die. You're almost guaranteed to freeze.
Oh,
It's required that there's 2 to 3 people per tent.
Cuthbert, I'll keep you warm, Cuthbert.
What about the yak? Is there any warmth left in the carcass?
Smells worse on the inside.
I thought it smelled bad on the outside.
Oh, okay, I suppose.
Cornelius,
Yes.
we're outside now shouting over the wind. Will you feel safer if I'm in there with you?
Yes. Please.
That means we've got to put 3 people in the other tent.
Yes.
Hey, look, Edith A has a Migo gun, and B was with me and not trusting Arlo.
All right.
So I'm gonna stick close to the person who was on the same wavelength.
The Council of Reason stays together.
You're with me.
You're
I'm the one who's
smug
less reasonable.
bastards!
But I got the extra blanket, so.
Yes, but so do I with all my tentacles to keep all of us warm.
Awesome. All
All right, so 3 in each tent.
3 in each tent. Augustine and Cuthbert and Baxter are bunking together. They're talking about, things that, making sure that Augustine's feeling all right. What about the other 3, Thomas and Long and Saladin? What are you guys doing?
So I think that Migo gun could punch a hole straight through him and take out the tentacles in one fell swoop, if it should come to that.
I agree.
I think it's their best shot. If whatever Arlo is now decides to betray us.
At this point,
Hopefully Dr. Baxter can take action if something happens in the night.
This trip has just begun. I want it. It's grueling.
I agree. I feel like we're marching towards our deaths, honestly.
Hopefully we don't get there and they say, "Oh, they're not here today. Go back." Like the Spider Woman all over again.
Oh, they will receive a strongly worded letter from myself.
Can we assume that I overheard some of Dr. Baxter's stuff? I'm like, so what's with I don't think that the Sherpa's being particularly friendly to you. It's like he's trying to avoid.
He seems like a no nonsense type of individual. They're here to get us to a place and don't have time for much else. But I think their lack of amiability is to our advantage in this situation.
Maybe
again, my mistrust of Arlo. I mean, there's no way that our guide's going to be led away or seduced by some familiarity, if that makes sense.
Well, I suppose we have to rely on them because they know what they're doing out here in the freezing cold.
Yes, I was assuming if it wasn't just because they're being single-minded at making sure the 6 of us survived to our destination, then perhaps it was a cultural thing. Maybe they're not very welcoming of sharing their language with others.
So everyone beds down and does their best to get yet another night of sleep. I would like the tent with Thomas and Long and Saladin, each of them to please give me a listen roll.
4.
Oh, no luck.
28 is a regular success.
All right. So Dr. Long, you feel like you think you hear something, but Dr. Saladin, you definitely hear something, and it kind of awoke you. Maybe it invaded your dreams a little bit, but then it woke you up, and you hear the static squelch of a radio. And then it clicks, and
but it doesn't sound like it's in here.
It does not sound like it's inside your tent. No. So something outside is making a squelching radio thing, and then it clicks, and then it stops.
Am I aware of anybody who has a radio on this trip?
You haven't seen a radio. No one's talked about a radio.
And it doesn't sound like
you haven't been in radio communication with anybody.
It sounds like a communication radio, not like a music playing radio.
Correct.
That was weird. I'll keep listening to see if I hear any more.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
Do I have a direction, like which tent direction it came from?
Maybe if you heard it twice, you might be able to zero in. But right now, you don't know.
Are either of you awake?
Yeah, what's that noise?
I think it was a radio.
What?
Is somebody communicating with the radio?
It's so cold. Who would be talking to somebody on the radio? one of the guides have a radio?
Who would they talk to in the middle of the night?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they'd have to be close.
In the middle of Tibet.
Yeah, they'd have to be close for radio.
In the mountains? Yeah. I have a very suspicious feeling now.
I mean, I thought the evasiveness of the guides.
What if this Wilson fellow has set us up? I mean, he just tells us we need to go out and why?
I mean, but there are more people who are in league with this thing who want it to fall, right? I mean, we've encountered that individual in the Dreamlands and then in Montana, and we suspect they'd be out here. I mean, maybe one of the guides is part of their order.
That's true.
And they're reporting our
how many
progress.
people are other than us are in this in our entourage?
There are a dozen. They're porters / Sherpas, right? They're same thing. So there's a dozen of those guys. Then there's also Lazang, and then there's you guys, and then there's like 10 yaks.
At least a dozen of them. Well, I don't think the yaks are calling anybody on the radio.
Maybe.
Any one of them could be any one of them could be a spy. Aren't there bad guys we're heading towards? Must be bad guys we're heading towards. They must be nearby because we're in the mountains. The radio signal's not going to go very far.
And the sound has stopped by this point, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
I heard it click, though.
All right, we'll have to look for it.
So there may, just hypothetically, there may have been noise when you were asleep. And then as you were, especially for Dr. Saladin, that noise was probably disturbing his sleep. So then as he was raising out of a deep sleep into, shallow, hey, I'm almost awake, that's when he heard the final kind of squelch and click. And then he kind of awoke, right? But Dr. Long, you were like just behind him, so you didn't quite hear. You heard something, but it didn't make enough sense to you. It invaded your dreams, but it just confused you. But Saladin definitely heard that squelch and click.
Radio equipment's pretty big in the 20s. Like portable radio.
Well, there's a lot of gear on the backs of the yaks.
Right, but it'd be very hard for them to conceal it, is what I'm saying. I mean,
what we could do tomorrow is we could say that we're looking for something in our gear.
Where are they getting power from?
Batteries?
So, I mean, whatever, I mean, yeah, this isn't like a little handheld little radio they're working with. This is
right.
This is some serious equipment because that's all we got at this time. So it shouldn't be that difficult to find. We should be able to
figure out which yak has the most.
Yeah, we start looking, just on the watch, just flipping up, the packs on the yaks and see where there's a radio.
It also has to be near our tent. Otherwise, I wouldn't have heard it.
Oh, that's true. If we peek out, is there a yak close by?
I'm sure it was inside of somebody's tent.
Oh yeah, who's close? I mean,
well, all of the tents are
close.
You're all just kind of clustered around. Yeah,
we could try to get up early in the morning and then see, because somebody's going to have to try to conceal that and put it into their packs. And
well, be on the lookout. I mean, it's too cold to go out tonight.
Right.
If we get lucky, it's going to freeze to death in here.
And the walls of your tent begin to ripple from the steady winds that are blowing across it.
Maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe I was half asleep. And
no, I heard something too, and I think we have every right to be paranoid. Our journey together, the course of this year has, well, stranger things have occurred.
Let's try and go back to sleep. It would figure that Edith hasn't even woken up and sleep through anything. Those Montana chicks.
All right. Morning comes for everyone.
So hopefully my paranoia will wake me up a little early, like at the crack of dawn. I'm gonna, if it's not snowing and wind blowing, freezing, I'm gonna climb out of my tent and see if I can figure out who's getting up first and trying to hide their radio.
Okay. Sure, you can get up early, and yeah, in fact, there is a steady blowing wind with snow, and so it is snowing pretty hard as you get up and start getting out of your tent. Give me a spot hidden, please.
Right. I already rolled 42, but let's see what that is. Oh, okay. That's a regular.
Okay. So you don't see anyone like futzing with any of the animals as if they're trying to put anything away. But as you're looking around, your vision lifts and you kind of look up on a rise back from in the direction that you came from. So you're looking south, and on that rise, you see glimpses between the falling snow. You see a gray shape, and then as you kind of look again, you realize that it's the albino savage is standing up on the rise back behind you. And as he gets obstructed from snow, and then when it clears, as that blow of snow kind of blows past and it clears momentarily again, he's gone.
Dr. Long, Dr. Baxter.
What? What?
There,
good
up
Lord.
there on the rise, I could see the albino.
I'm not in your tent.
I know, but I'm yelling, so.
No, I'm blowing.
Edith.
Yeah, yep. I'm coming out too. What? What is it?
Zeno saw a man up on the ridge.
Is that
The
what you two
albino.
were,
I'm sure it was the albino.
is that what you two were whispering about last night?
Oh, you were awake.
I didn't hear any. I figured if it was important, you'd wake me up. So I kind of just rolled over and went back to sleep. But I heard you gossiping about something.
I get in close and I say, pretty sure we heard somebody talking on a radio.
A radio?
I know it
Out
doesn't
here?
make any sense. That doesn't make any sense, but that makes
That
us
is very
highly
strange.
suspicious. I tell, of
Hmm.
course, Philip and Cuthbert and Augustine as well.
So, what morning protocol? I'm guessing is something like the Sherpas clear a little area of snow and put together a warming area to thaw some dried meat and make some gross tea and stuff before we all pack up our gear and continue walking. Is that roughly?
Yeah, they've got some kind of kit. It's almost like a portable little stovepipe, and so then they can continually reuse it to get a little fire started inside this stovepipe, and they're able to warm up batches of food that are no bigger than the palm of your hand. So it takes a while to get enough going. People are eating in shifts. I mean, one person's being fed at a time from this stovepipe,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Pretty efficient considering the circumstances, but not quick. So we have a chance for interlocution, and of course, Cuthbert and I sort of checked each other out and Arlo as we got up in our tent to make sure that there weren't, say, any strange lesions on our respective flesh, and he didn't look extra pink and happy. And then we get out, we find out that there's this rumor that you heard a radio and you saw the albino. Is there any chance of finding tracks in this blowing snow, or is it just
We'd
ridiculous?
have to go back the way we came from, correct?
Yes, and it is a heavy, wet, blowing snow.
It's watching us.
Well, wow.
So if you heard a radio,
Wouldn't a radio be a standard piece of equipment for a journey such as this?
Well, who are you gonna
in
talk-
case
who
there's
are-
an emergency?
Well, who are you going to contact?
It's the mountains. It's the Himalayas. There's not a radio tower for 1,000 miles.
Oh, yeah, okay. Unless there's like dotted about base stations, probably. I don't know this
Well,
area.
look, I mean, you look at all the mountains around us.
Yeah,
You
you're
can't
right.
see any.
Yeah.
You'd have to be contacting somebody pretty close.
there are
but-
different radio frequencies, but I mean, just a battery that would survive in this cold
Yeah, very good point.
seems almost like an alien technology.
Well,
Or they'd be
don't we have flashlights?
Sure.
Yeah, but they're not small.
Surely
Well,
not
yeah,
these.
we don't know how this. I think this thing is concealed somehow. It could be
Yeah,
big.
A radio that you can speak back over. It's got to be big.
They've
yeah.
buried it under
Yeah.
blankets and pillows, and
Dr. Baxter, you say alien, and I mean, surely these guns we have, they wouldn't have that other purpose as well, would they? I mean, it's all alien to me, but
Well, I don't think
you
that
heard it quite clearly, Dr. Saladin.
yeah, I don't think it was anything. It sounded very
No?
distinctly
Okay,
like a ham radio.
I understand.
right. And ham is the kind that uses less energy and goes farther distances. But still,
And it
the
wasn't
basic equipment,
night.
aren't there? There are tubes that require atmosphere to be maintained. You might have been dreaming. I don't think it's possible to have a transmitting and receiving radio at this altitude,
Farther we've
unless
gone
it's the size of
along-
a truck.
The farther we've gone along, the less I trust any of the information we've been given.
Well, if Wilson wanted to get rid of us, he could have done so easily when we arrived in a haggard state. But he might have trusted people
wrong
that he
people.
shouldn't have.
Mm.
Dr. Saladin, you said
evil-
you heard it in your sleep?
Wouldn't evil temple cultists also be heading towards the same place we are for the same reason? Yeah, I heard it. I heard it as I was waking up. It woke
Oh.
me up.
You know, you all have mentioned several times the dreamlands, but I'd never been there, so I did not know if that was some kind of possibility there. No?
There wasn't any.
It's a possibility.
We don't have the drug though. I don't recall.
There's
going
no
back.
like crossover if you are just in a regular slumber. Nothing like that. No?
I actually studied the formula quite well, and I believe I can make some. I just need the proper ingredients.
Yeah, you're not going to find them up here in the mountains, though. But didn't we hear something about there being entrances to the dreamlands? I mean, maybe
I thought you
up
all
here.
had
All over the
some of
world.
this concoction
Yeah.
still with you. You had mentioned it to me
The
before.
thing about the albino, I mean, it's been some time since we've seen him in Montana. They've had plenty of time, just like we did, to get here
Yeah.
from Montana.
Something's going on.
And that's if they don't have some method of, moving rapidly from one place to another, like what Cornelius tried.
I think we should all
I think
be
Go ahead,
ready at all times to defend ourselves.
Radio transmission without towers. Gosh, that means there must be a close by recipient then, which would mean, is there a party traveling in tandem with us, not too far away?
Or
Perhaps the temple at Leng itself has an antenna. If it's an ancient and forgotten civilization.
Dr. Long said perhaps there are cultists that have infiltrated our party and are heading towards we're heading towards other cultists and they're communicating. Who knows?
Yeah, they're warning them that we're coming or something. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, as this object approaches, whatever it is, this thing that comes from Azathoth, perhaps it gives off radio signals. Who knows? But it's just so odd. Like who are they talking to and about what? Or if they're just listening, I mean, what are they listening to? I want to find that radio.
What happens if we just openly ask for it? If there's not a nefarious nature or purpose for it, they might say, oh yeah, this is the radio for this.
Well, I wonder as well, I mean, these laborers are risking their lives to take us through these barren wastes. Are they doing it because they're allied with Lhasa, or because they have respect for Francis Wilson, or are they just being paid so well that it's worth this risk?
I think one, they're being paid, but two, this is their environment, so they're not considering this.
We're going to a place that is not currently charted on normal maps, so it is recognized to be off the beaten path. But that isn't what I was concerned about. My concern was, if we say, I demand to see the hidden radio, will they simply turn on us now? Or are there factions or different understandings?
If they say there's no radio, do we tear the place apart looking for it?
And we're outgunned and outnumbered.
Or
maybe we shouldn't
and can't communicate with most of them.
Yeah, maybe we should just.
We wouldn't have to demand seeing it. We could just say, we thought we heard a radio.
No, but I mean, then they see that there's no radio, and then what do? We can't ransack the place, and they just took a bunch of crazy people out in the wilderness. They're going to do away with us. Cultist or not, like it's just a present danger. I think we have to go about this with a little bit of subtlety.
Yeah, keep the knowledge in our pockets. And then they say, we have been in communication all this time. And we're like, yeah, we know.
Do we set some sort of watch at night, maybe in shifts, have someone listening?
After 21 miles a day, we've got to sleep.
I know. You're right.
You didn't get a sense of what direction of course, there's wind and snow.
I tried to but I didn't hear it again. There was I imagine they were talking on the radio, and then as they were turning it off, there was a squelch that woke me up.
So we are sleeping in roughly a ring at night. It's a protective shape.
It's a cluster.
It's a cluster.
Yeah.
So if Arlo and Cuthbert and I and you three just switch tents tonight, we can get a sense perhaps if there's a direction. If the wind dies
21
down.
miles from here in a different cluster.
Right, but I assume that the pattern is often repeated. It's just simpler. You don't just randomly throw the tents around every night. You have the cook tent and the mess tent. You sort of set things up.
Structure. Yeah, camp structure.
Yeah, there's no mess tent. And these tents, you don't actually walk into them. You crawl into them. There are all these, these little pup tent, 3-man pup tents.
Yeah.
So everyone just kind of, huddles together with that stovepipe to cook food and hand it off to one person at a time. I mean, it's just really, really rough.
Arlo.
It's rough, but surely there's some consistency about who bunks with whom, right?
Cuthbert, yes.
I don't know if. Do you have some sort of heightened sense of hearing? Did you hear anything off last night?
I was fast asleep, my dear friend. I get very easily worn out these days.
I have a very odd question for you, Arlo.
Yes.
Do the little travelers on your back have eyes?
That is a good question, and I very much doubt it.
No.
Okay.
But they have mouths.
If they could see, you would just have to, like, as we're walking, you just slip one into a bag and see if there's a radio in there, and then the next bag.
Everyone's busy this morning, right? Why don't one of us kind of poke their head around?
Here's the little mirror of yours. How does it work?
Yeah. If I could, I'm not sure that I could see into a dark place. It doesn't provide light. So even if, I could look at the door of,
you don't necessarily have to find our radio.
And our tents
You need to find who they're talking to. I mean, if we could find that albino and see where they've gone.
Yes, well, I have perhaps seen the famed pale savage less than any of you. He doesn't seem to show up when I'm around. I hope it's not me.
I've only seen this today.
So I don't think I could focus the mirror on him, but I could try. Tonight, if we think the radio is on, I could imagine, because it has to be local, what the radio is speaking to. I could try it. I've only used it under very narrow circumstances, and they were not rugged or so imaginary. Won't hurt to try much. I might feel a little weaker, but Cuthbert's doing well. I see you brought a box of crane broth.
Yes, I still have a few bags left. Still tastes. I think in this higher altitude, it tastes a little bit less disturbing.
That might be the lack of oxygen to your brain. My goodness.
It's still good. I still rated Cuthbert.
Despite the low temperature, it refuses to freeze. What does that mean?
So you guys have your chores that you need to do, which include breaking your tent and packing your gear and loading up your yaks and getting a little bit of breakfast, and then tightening up your parka and you're lacing up your boots as you get ready to trudge again deeper, further north. So I'm assuming that you guys do that. Is that a safe assumption, or are you all ready to march on?
It is safe. I make sure I double check with my wonderful little Browning, since I'm starting to become a little more fearful of our compatriots here.
Okay.
Wait a second. We're in Tibet. What's the current status between Tibet and China?
So according to some notes that I've seen, the Dalai Lama expelled Chinese from Tibet in 1911. But you are near a Chinese border.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the Chinese border.
You're kind of running alongside it.
Could it just be that we're close by a Chinese border?
Well, I'm trying to think of threats that we might have, people who would receive radio. And the only thing I could think of is we're getting close to the Chinese border. Maybe, I don't know if do these people all look Tibetan? I don't know if they wouldn't know the difference between Tibetan and
I mean, Wilson.
There's also going to be a lot of intermarriage, right? Too.
Yeah, it's not Wilson was concerned that we might run into Chinese border patrols and that borders are flexible in mountain ranges. But again, that wouldn't be anything we heard in the circle of tents
in the middle of
in a depression that we're hiding from the wind in. It's somebody in the group that has a radio, if you weren't dreaming.
And I didn't hear music. I thought for a moment maybe somebody was listening to some music, but I didn't hear any music.
Maybe you were dreaming. Should we draw straws to see who asks Lazong about having a mechanism to communicate
I thought
with
we were
base
going to
camp?
keep that under our keep it a secret.
I guess we could until the next night. Yeah.
Okay.
We can
So you
also
guys-
walk around as we're packing stuff up. Say, you can hide a radio in the middle of this. Check and see. I don't know.
Yeah, I assume a lot of the bundles on the animals are going to be sort of roundish with odds and ends. Obviously, if there was a rectilinear thing. But again, since people are probably bedding up with the same people night for night, they're packing up the tent together.
Right.
That is true. And these bundles are also really, tightly, cinched and secured. You don't want the winds ripping them open and spilling the contents. I mean, so individual bundles are tightly bound. Multiple bundles are then tightly bound to yaks. And so it's layer upon layer of knots and knots. And so there's a lot of work that goes in, to striking camp and getting ready for moving. In the few days that you've been doing this, it's a lesson that you've been learning quite well. So unless anyone says otherwise, my assumption is that
mindful, we can
go ahead. Sorry about that.
If we're mindful, we know whose tents were nearest each of ours. Like I assume that Arlo and Cuthbert and I were next to Loggins, Hellett, and Thomas. I assume that we, as the strangers, are neighbor tents. And then if we know that on the other side of our tent, or maybe in two places on the other side, is where the Zong is camped, or some other notable of the group. Like we could keep an eye on the packing up and the depacking and look for what would be probably a very suggestive package, a box e-radio with stuff attached to it.
Well, and then that's a good idea. But then the packs that are on these bundles that are on the yaks, are they like leather pouches type of things?
I mean, there can be. There's also actual wooden boxes that are secured shut and then tied to the yaks. Okay. There are canvas and cloth bundles that are rolled together and tightly bound to stay in a tight roll. That's bound to a yak. So there's all manner of containers, boxes and pouches and bags and bed rolls and tent rolls and all kinds of things. So it's pretty diverse.
I guess my thinking was the things that aren't wood, like things that we can impress. We can try to see if things that are large enough to hold a radio. You see if it's all soft, like it's all bedding or something, or if you're feeling something, that's like a metal rectangle or something through the leather or the canvas, as you like, just like. Without having to try to open them up, which we're never going to be able to do.
Is that something you want to do, Dr. Long?
Yeah, I mean, as we're walking, if you're just...
First, give me a luck roll. Tell me how your luck roll goes.
23 is good.
Okay. And give me, so how was it? Just a standard success?
23 on 40. That's a hard success on luck.
Okay. Give me a spot hidden.
95. All right.
Yeah,
It was a dream.
you do get up to one of the yaks, and the porter for that one is on the other side of the yak and doesn't seem to notice that you're there. There's also driving snow falling, and so you're able to kind of pat around, but you don't feel like you feel anything that screams radio to you.
In talking with in the group, I like Dr. Long's idea. Could I try, say, on the other side of the caravan with a couple of the yaks over there as well?
Sure. So give me a personal luck roll.
And of course, it's a drop die. Certainly not a good sign.
Not a good sign for luck.
Okay, can I re-roll what it landed on?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank goodness! That
roll
was
it on
90.
the table.
That was a 93. Now it's a 53, and it's still a fail. Okay, never mind.
All right, give me a spot hidden.
Oh, okay. That's a hard.
Okay. So you are you go up to one of these yaks, and you're actually kind of getting your arm into one of these packs, and you're feeling around, and you're just feeling like bundles of cloth and stuff. Your fingers aren't discerning anything, but as you're doing that, one of the porters comes up to you and is tapping you on the shoulder, and he's speaking in Tibetan, but he's like gesturing from you to the pack, and
here, help me, I'm looking for my tea.
And he doesn't.
Drink.
No.
Is he trying to stop me, or just sort of wave no?
Well, he's waving no, and then he's just kind of like pointing forward, like march.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so I'll just put the flap back over, tie it up, kind of march on over.
Okay, he redoubles that knot, make sure it stays nice and tight. And he's shaking his head and.
I think we should seek out Lejean and ask him a particular question.
Yeah.
What did Wilson tell you about the pale savage or the white native or whatever? Because he appears to be among us.
So you approach Lazang and say that?
Yeah.
So Lazang, of course, he's in a big parka, fur lined hood around his head, and he's like, trying to strain to like, what are you saying? And then you describe this albino savage, and he's like, there, no man can travel alone out here. It would be a death sentence. There is no albino following us. He certainly couldn't come alone, and he is not one of our men.
Thank you, Lazang. What if he's not a man? What if he's a ghost or a spirit or a small god?
Snowman.
We have seen him in many lands, and he has always been able to defeat us. And you trust Francis Wilson, right?
But of course, you can give me a psychology roll.
Francis Wilson. Mm-hmm.
You asked a question, so
48. That's okay. It's a regular.
He doesn't seem very convincing when he says he trusts Francis Wilson.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything, Lazang, that Francis Wilson is afraid of that you're also afraid of?
No, I'm not afraid.
I hope then, friend, that you do not also meet this pale savage.
We will see what our journey brings. It will be fine. All fine. Now, please, I must
Yes,
concentrate.
of course. Mm-hmm.
The weather is very bad.
How are our compass readings? Are we going full north?
Give me a navigation.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. Oh, 18 for 20. Didn't expect to get that roll.
It you seem to be traveling pretty much due north.
So, yeah, all right. For the tent tonight, I don't think he's telling us the truth exactly, but I don't think he's actually betraying us, but we're doing what we need to do. Oh, it's so cold. And this cold meat is so...
Maybe, I mean, if I don't know how or if you should be using your mirror, and magic is so, I still have trouble really wrapping my head around it all. But I mean, could you look at Wilson from here?
That seems like it would be worth an effort. He is not that distant physically. I know him. I've known him for years. I think we'll wait, until we're in our tents. But perhaps we would all gather and squeeze into one of the tents, and I can try that.
I think you should also look at Lhasa tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've got a picture of him, and he's close.
See if he doesn't. I don't trust him anymore. He says something creepy about him.
Go ahead.
I'm afraid that I share your concern.
This has been a very grueling day of travel. I need everyone to give me a con roll, please.
Oh, I did not do well today.
01. You're saying 01s.
I got a 90.
Regular success.
Nice.
A pretty normal failure, 66.
Oh my gosh!
So we had four failures and 2 successes, right? And a couple of those failures were pretty spectacular.
I got an 82.
Oh, you too. All right. But we had 190. Anybody else actually, truly fumble? So no true fumbles, but some pretty good failures. Is it safe to assume that the 6 of you travel relatively together, close to each other?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably chit-chatting all the way.
I would think so too. Companionship, familiar faces, that kind of thing. Okay. So Edith and Dr. Long, you guys seem to be weathering this weather, the hardship of this march. It is kind of an uphill. You feel like you're ascending. It's not a dramatic ascent, but you feel like you're ascending. The snow, the driving wet snow, heavy winds are just, they're stinging and just wet, and it's getting in, through your collars, and your backs are just cold and soaking wet. But you have noticed that your 4 companions have are starting to kind of get to the very end of their strength, as they are all 4 of them falling to their knees and continually having to stand up. They're definitely slowing down.
Okay, well, with an 01, I suppose I'm doing quite all right. I'll try to help.
Well, you're like Legolas, just walking on the top of the snow.
Yeah, this is like a morning walk back in Rhode Island. I will do my best to help Cuthbert since he is the oldest.
Thank you, young man.
Edith?
Whoever appears to be struggling the most, I guess Dr. Augustine actually with the 90. Yeah, I'll go help him. He looks like he's having a really rough time of it.
Okay.
Come on, Dr. Augustine.
Oh, thank you.
All right. It does take some time for you guys to kind of start helping each other and trying to reorientate and get going again. Everyone can give me spot hiddens.
Ooh, an 07. We're rolling
51 is a regular.
extreme success.
No, my tentacles are too cold.
Extreme as well.
Nice.
All right. So the extreme successes, it doesn't feel like you were spending a lot of time, helping your companions, but it was probably more time than you realized. I mean, you're just having so many elements assaulting your senses. It's difficult to tell time. But as you get everyone on their feet and ready to march again, there are two yaks that are in and around you guys that, these two yaks are primarily carrying all of y'all's personal equipment, your bedrolls, as well as anything else that you're holding. But the rest of the caravan did not stop. And they seem to have pulled away. And so those with the extreme successes, you are seeing just these gray shapes that are starting to disappear in the white of the snow.
They've left us.
Holy cow, they're leaving us.
Wait!
Dr. Long, you don't look like you're overly affected by all this. Maybe you should run ahead.
Yeah, I'm going.
So we should take a round out. Maybe pop one round just to get their attention.
I'll do that. Oh,
Okay.
All right. You fire a shot into the air. And it seems like the report is swallowed by the snow. Dr. Long, are you going to race after?
Yes.
Okay, give me a dexterity test.
I'll follow along.
14! 14 is a hard.
Very.
Okay.
I will spend 4 points of luck to make that an extreme.
Okay.
I am not getting left behind. You're not leaving us behind.
So you start running through the snow, and you feel like you are making headway, catching up. As you can tell that throughout the full day of travel, you've been ascending, right? And you kind of come over like a little crest area, and you see you're now confronted with quite a sight. You can see a gorge ahead of you that has a rope bridge, a one-man rope bridge that spans across this gorge. Okay. But kind of ahead and to your right, near the edge of this gorge, you can see there's like a path, if you will, a natural formed path that kind of, goes to the right and is right next to the gorge edge. And you can see from the tracks just before they are filled in by the snow and disappear. But you can see that the caravan has taken, because of course all these yaks, right? They've taken that path to the right. And then what kind of makes it a distinct path to the right is there is a rise of rock also immediately on your right. So they're kind of going around that corner and are going to kind of, head downhill that way. But just as you get up there and catch up, and you're kind of seeing the caravan disappearing down that way, you hear the distinct sound of rifle bolts being pulled back and locked into place. And as you look up, you can see silhouettes of men in dark gray military uniforms standing on the rocks above you. And as your companions catch up, you can see these men have red stars on their uniforms. And we will pause tonight's episode there.
No.
Our players included Josh Harwood, Morgan Llewellyn, Holly Buteau, Stuart Lively, David Gasway, and myself, with John Hook as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. There's a link below. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.